The time between eclipses is often called an eclipse portal, a liminal space in which we are in a state of transition, and there are a lot more questions than answers. This time, this portal is accompanied by Mercury and Venus being retrograde. And Mercury is the ruler of the south node right now, what we are releasing in order to grow. And that's the eclipse that we just had, was a south node eclipse in Virgo. So now it's turned retrograde, and it seems like the themes of releasing and shedding are at an all-time high. But then we're coming up to this solar eclipse in Aries, in which there is a new beginning for us, a new fated and destined beginning. And so until then, we're kind of just in this space. There can be confusion. We've got the sun conjuncting Neptune in Pisces of all signs. There can be an increased empathic ability and sensitivity, heightened intuition as well, but also confusion and not knowing where we're going. It's almost a sense that we're floating in limbo. So when I thought about what I wanted to offer everybody and myself during this time, I want to just really tap into that intuition and to that empathy and in the unknowingness of this time that we're all kind of feeling, right? And instead of making this a super detailed report, which my reports tend to be more intuitive anyways, even if I try to make them detailed, I wanted to just give us an opportunity to sit in what's happening right now. Many of us could be feeling disoriented or tired or foggy. It could even also just make us have this psychic sensitivity that can show up in our dreams or in our understandings about what's going on. And I want to spend some time talking specifically about the Mercury retrograde, because I did talk about the Venus retrograde. I'll have that video linked down below if you haven't listened to it. But this Mercury retrograde is really interesting, and I kind of want to talk more about Mercury in general because he's very important over the next really year and a half, but we'll have eclipses with him involved until 2027. Before the solar eclipse, we're going to have a Mercury and Venus cazimi, meaning they're going to be joining the sun in their inferior conjunction. And this means that they're starting a new cycle. And when a planet conjuncts the sun, has a cazimi, it's almost like reborn in a sense. You can think of this Mercury retrograde that began on March 15th to April 7th almost as two separate retrograde cycles, with the cazimi being what separates the first half to the second half. The interesting thing about Mercury retrograde is it happens multiple times a year, and people really have this very general understanding of Mercury retrogrades, which are not incorrect. Things may not be as they seem. You're accessing a more intuitive part of your brain and it's not so detail oriented, so you may miss certain information that would be very helpful. Don't sign contracts, don't do certain big repairs, like all these things that we hear about don't do during Mercury retrograde. I myself have done them, so I can tell you from experience, like, they're not wrong. A lot of times things do go wrong when you do it during a Mercury retrograde. And also, there is something much deeper with Mercury. I think Mercury is really interesting because we just think of him as being this really quick trickster, and he is kind of a trickster, but why is he a trickster? And these are kind of the things we'll explore today. But I want you to think about the fact that Mercury is the only god, Hermes is the only god that could go to the underworld and to the heavens. So he could go down to with Hades in the underworld with Pluto and come back unscathed. This was not something that all the gods could do. And Mercury was actually a psychopomp, or what we would call a soul guide, and he would be guiding people down into Hades during their time. If we think about this association with Mercury and Pluto, we can think of Mercury being able to access the conscious mind of the earthly realm and then the unconscious realm of Hades. And so being able to kind of be in all places, Mercury rules, in a sense, these liminal spaces, these transitional spaces in which there is less clarity about where you are allowed to be and where you're not allowed to be. So this understanding about this portal eclipse that we're in, with Mercury currently being retrograde, what Mercury does, in a sense, is bring a lot of unconscious thoughts and perceptions into our conscious awareness, or takes in conscious awareness and conscious perceptions and puts them down in the unconscious mind, and then brings them back up into our conscious awareness, a lot of times during retrogrades. And so the fact that the planet that kind of rules these liminal spaces, in a sense, these transitional spaces, in a sense, is also retrograde during this liminal time, just adds to that feeling of like all of us kind of being held in limbo. There's a feeling of being suspended. And this doesn't necessarily have to be a negative thing. Like, some people are feeling this more acutely than others, where there is a big release, and other people are just kind of feeling this kind of confusion or disorientation that I was speaking of, or this stillness, like they can't really move forward even though they want to right now. So we can often think about Mercury being direct because of Mercury's desire to kind of stay with the logic and details as being attention. And then when he goes retrograde, it becomes awareness. It's not differentiating the details of the environment or of the consciousness when it's retrograde the way that it does when it's direct. And so it's almost like the 3 months preceding a retrograde cycle with Mercury, we are just kind of living in this sense of attention, right? And obviously, if you have Mercury retrograde in your birth chart, this is going to be different. But if you don't, then we're just like living in the conscious world, and it's feels good and it feels easy. And this is why Mercury retrograde can be disorienting, because it takes us out of this attention and puts us in this awareness, where the lines between the observed and the observer are definitely more blurred. And so the attention to the details dissipates, and there is more of a sense of being with what is. And so when this happens, this is kind of where Mercury can become a trickster, because it can bring these unconscious material out of the unconscious and into the conscious mind, especially during retrogrades, and give us this quality that we've been lying to ourselves, or we have been lied to. And so I would say that during this Mercury retrograde, specifically in between the eclipses, but even, for the week after, which we saw Mercury retrograde and Venus retrograde, there is something that is really dying to be seen by you. And a lot of times this will be seen through our interactions with other people and our environment. I want to read something that Erin Sullivan says about that precisely, actually. She says the difficulty inherent in Mercury retrograde and within all the retrograde cycles lies not in the nature of retrogression, but in our unwillingness to accept it as a teaching device. Normally, we think that the conscious mind should be in control, but this is not what retrogression teaches us. If we are to use the astrological model to its full potential, then we must listen to what it says. In particular, when Mercury is retrograde, then something important is calling for awareness, and that particular something will emerge from the unconscious through the agency of Mercury. Because if we think about Mercury, it's a very important planet, right? It's how we decode the perceptions that come in, and how we communicate the perceptions that we have. Which is why you can imagine when this faculty is not working so well, like during retrogrades, not working so well, quote unquote, meaning it's not as attentive, it can cause this miscommunication. And you can just even think about the fact that when you have different Mercuries, how that miscommunication can always happen, because you say things, you take in perceptions in a certain way depending on your Mercury sign, you say it in a certain way depending on your Mercury sign and aspects, of course. And then other people have a completely different way of doing that process. And then the wires get crossed and you just have this miscommunication. She continues to say, in the retrograde phase of Mercury's cycle, we discover that life, like art, is discovery and not design. As Jung says, The disastrous idea that everything comes to the human psyche from outside and that it is born a tabula rasa is responsible for the erroneous belief that under normal circumstances, the individual is in perfect order, right? So we see these retrogrades that come in and just like screw everything up and bring all these issues that, well, if it wasn't for the retrograde, then, our lives would be in perfect order because I am this perfect thing. And this is kind of what we're dealing with when Mercury goes retrograde or any other planet goes retrograde. When it comes to retrogrades, there is an emphasis on rest to allow the unconscious or the intuitive awareness to come forward and to, like I said, bring up these messages that we maybe have suppressed over the last 3 months since the last Mercury retrograde, and allow them to be seen for what they are and not judged as something happening external to us, but a mirror to our own internal experience and our own reactions in the world. And when we view it in this sense, retrogrades are amazing teaching tools for our lives and an invitation to slow down. When a planet goes retrograde, regardless of what planet it is, that's really what it's asking you to do. It's asking you to look in the mirror, to look at the shadows. What are you bringing to the table? And a lot of times, like Carl Jung says, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So from a psychological perspective, this is fate. Now, from a divination perspective, fate can have different meanings to everybody, and destiny and karma, right? These are very nuanced topics. So for this video, I'm looking at it from a psychological perspective. That if we view the things that are going on in our lives during this time as actually messages from our unconscious that need to be heard, that are dying to be heard, that need to be seen by you, then we can have a completely different perspective on not just this retrograde, but the retrogrades after. So I talked about how the retrogrades have these two phases, one before the Cazimi and one after the Cazimi. The one before the Cazimi, which like I said is on the 24th of March, until then, from March 15th and March 24th, we are in a space of complete suspension and unknown. It's almost like there is a sense of rest that is required during this time. This is like really, I think, this first half, the most retrograde-y part of the retrograde. And so, like I said, it coincides with this in-between space of the eclipse. Now, as you'll notice, the eclipse, the solar eclipse in Aries is on March 29th, and I'll have a video about that more in detail, of course. So from the 24th, 25th to the 29th, and then also to the 7th of April when the Mercury retrograde ends, there is a different impatience that can come up with the retrograde of wanting to start something new. And as I talk about in the solar eclipse video, it's like you're going to want to start something new. And I'll talk more about that as it gets there, because I don't want to focus too much that far ahead, and I kind of want us to be able to rest in what's happening right now. But just know that this period is going to go undergo some transformations when Mercury joins the Sun in its inferior conjunction. It's just days after Venus joins the Sun in its inferior conjunction and starts a new cycle. Until those dates, things are going to be the foggiest. It's going to be the most difficult, in my opinion. Now, the next Mercury retrograde is on May 30th or May 29th. It's like right on the cusp. So I want you to think about what is coming up in your unconscious during this retrograde cycle that is begging to be seen by you and integrated and understood and heard. Because the next retrograde that happens in May, which is going to be in the sign of Leo, another fire sign, is going to, in some ways, and the actions that you take between this retrograde once it goes direct until the next retrograde, there is going to be some sort of fruition, some sort of culmination that comes about from that retrograde because of what you're doing in the 3 months preceding it. And for Venus, as I discussed in my Venus retrograde video, that it's going to be cycles from 2017 that are finishing up now, or that are coming up. Those themes are coming up in very similar ways around March and April of 2017, but even possibly February to May because of the shadow periods associated with that cycle. I think this year specifically is a massive transition in so many different ways, and we have to recognize that change takes time, right? It's not like, oh, I just burst into this new way of being and everything changes. No, you can burst into a new way of being and one aspect of your psyche changes, and then with another transit, a different part of your aspect of your psyche changes and things like that. So with the all signs, what I'm going to do is take this more intuitive approach. We're going to do tarot cards. Of course, the way that I am, my brain connects everything. So I'll have your chart up and I will definitely talk about the transits that come to mind, but I want to allow more intuition and to let it be free flowing, to go with the energy rather than against it. So I'll see you guys in the all signs. For my Aries sun, moon, and rising, let's see what is going on for you guys during this liminal space, this eclipse portal, where you have Mercury and Venus retrograding in your sign. You guys could be feeling actually quite extra confused or disoriented, or more intuitive, you know? Like, I don't mean to say those words in a negative light, like, oh, everyone's confused, because you could just be really leading into the empathic, sensitive, intuitive aspect, because you've got a lot of stuff in your 12th house, and you have for a bit now. So I feel like for you guys, there is something that is changing in your work situation. Yeah, as I said that. How funny. Okay. Oh my goodness. How funny. This to me says that, okay, yeah, it feels like there's a sort of work situation that you are walking away from. And it's funny because I also feel like this might have been a job or an idea or a project that was actually quite fulfilling for some time, or that you felt was what you wanted for a really long time. But now you're changing, and so that what was fulfilling before is no longer fulfilling for you. And so this is actually very much like work oriented. And because this is in your sign, these retrogrades are in your sign, and then you're going to have a solar eclipse in your sign, I very much feel as though this is changing because so many aspects of you are changing. And during this space between eclipses, I think especially around the Kazemi, the 24th, you're going to get some sort of an understanding or a message that will make it very clear to you. Like, maybe during this time, you're kind of confused by the sense that you're not satisfied, you know, or maybe you've been feeling it for a while. This is a general reading, but a lot of times because Mercury goes retrograde, and for you guys, Mercury rules your 6th house as well as your 3rd house. So it feels like that's why I was feeling it was like work related, or I don't know, I was kind of intuiting that. So the fact that we got this just kind of amplifies that. But it feels like because you are learning more about yourself, this journey that you're going to start taking from here on out, and is going to get really amplified in 2026, is one of great authority for you, even positions of leadership for you, but it requires letting go and walking away from situations that are not emotionally satisfying for you. Now, for you guys, this could even be relationships, but it could also just be relationships from work. It's just that when I see the 8 of Cups, it's an emotional dissatisfaction that something is not, and so, or a lot of times relationships can be a part of that, because it's something that is not in alignment anymore, and it's like you're begrudgingly walking away. You don't want to walk away, but you feel like you have to. Yeah, the Death card. See, something is definitely ending for you guys. And I do think it's, man, you guys are getting a lot of Cup cards. So there's a lot of emotions, and 5 is also like a disappointment. And scarcity as well. Oh my gosh. As soon as I said scarcity, 5 of Pentacles. You guys are, this is a very interesting read for Aries. This is not really scream Aries energy to me at all. So I feel like this time period for you is very much a resting period. And, you know, it kind of makes sense, because if you think about the fact that Mercury, as I talked about in the beginning part of the video, generally rules our conscious mind. Well, Aries generally like to keep things light. They like to keep things more conscious and fun and fresh and new. And so maybe Mercury retrogrades for you guys are a little bit more difficult in that sense, because yeah, it does require you to slow down. Mars is in your 4th house of home and emotions and family and childhood. So like childhood memories could be coming up right now, and you could be rethinking childhood understandings about life and how they've impacted you. Maybe that's where you're unhappy with around work, is that, you know, you feel like you're going based off of old patterns that are no longer relevant for you now. And that's what's requiring this transformation, this death, for something to end and for something new to begin. Yeah, the Magician card. As soon as I said something new to begin, I got the Magician card. And the Magician card is so much about creating your own story. It's about it's the conscious awareness, right? Which we don't have super great access to right now, but it doesn't mean that we can't start creating our life that we want from within, right? Because this is, the Magician card is so much as about that. It's not about manipulating. It's like what I always talk about the alchemist. It's that the turning lead to gold is a metaphor for the transformation that takes place within the alchemist. So this is talking about the alchemist, which works internally to create the life. And in the beginning of the video, I talked about mirroring, and that something is dying to be seen by you. And when you choose to see it, you can then actually start to create internally the conditions that you want to have in your life, rather the ones that you feel like are outdated and no longer working for you. Aries, let me know how that resonates for you guys. I'll see you next time. For my Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Rising, let's see what messages want to come out for you. Okay, Queen of Swords, being honest, being truthful, being decisive. During a Mercury retrograde, you know, I talk a lot about this in the beginning of the video, so make sure you guys listen to that if you haven't, but during Mercury retrograde, her energy is much more internal, right? Usually she is, because it's a queen, she's usually kind, but honest, decisive. And for you, this is an internal process right now, specifically because your ruler, Venus, is retrograde as well, and will be until the 12th. So during this eclipse portal, between the 2 eclipses, where things are kind of in this limbo state, this transitional state, and we are having it's interesting because this time is very intuitive and sensitive and empathic and psychic even, but for you, it's asking a different aspect. It's like, yeah, you can of course lean into that, but also knowing that there is a part of you that is needing to be quite clear about something. It's not so much about maybe taking action on it quite yet and saying the words, but being very clear about the thoughts internally, so that when the time is right to speak the words, they're coming from a place of authority and knowingness and mental clarity. Because right now with the retrograde, you're almost getting an opportunity to access certain parts of yourself, certain parts of your brain that over the last 3 months haven't really been there. Now, of course, like I said in the beginning, if you have Mercury retrograde, this is quite different. But because this kind of feels more like home to you, you know, whereas it's kind of different when it's direct. But I also got the Page of Pentacles, so I feel like this is coming on a precipice of some sort of a new project, some sort of a new job, some sort of a new idea that you've had that you want to now implement into your life. Yeah, see, this is what I was saying about, it's funny because as I was talking about the Queen of Swords and I said authority, and I was like, that's not really I mean, in a way it is a Queen of Swords card, but I think I was picking up on this, the Emperor. You're being asked right now, you know, it's interesting because you have all this stuff happening in your 12th house, which is very watery and intuitive. But, you know, it's like you're being asked to stand up for something. You're being asked to, you've got Mars in the 3rd. That could be like very Queen of Swords energy. And the South Node in the 5th. Interesting. So yeah, there could be something that you have to stand up in around a creative project or a romantic situation, a love partner, maybe with your children. You're being asked to kind of maintain a sense of authority. Wow, Ace of Pentacles. Whether or not this is something to do with your job, so like if it is the aspect of the 5th house, which is about love and romance, even if it's not about a job per se, there is an aspect of this that's actually really important for an idea that you're wanting to implement into the world in order to open up opportunities for new money, for a new job, for a new career. You need to be willing to get really clear about something in your life and to kind of stand in your authority and leadership. Yeah, there's a big decision for you guys. It could be relationships with the Lovers for sure. This is a very it's a very relational card, but ultimately the Lovers is about uniting heart and mind. And this is a beautiful time to do that. And it's about making a decision. Now, I don't recommend this time for making like super hard decisions, but it depends on your chart. You'd have to get a reading to look at everything in your chart. But for you guys, it's most likely going to be like a time of exploring decisions or getting really clear internally, because what this tells me is that you're on a precipice of a massive life shift, and that this decision that you're making is going to have far-reaching consequences. And it's asking you to not feel it in your heart, not to think it in your mind, but to unite the feeling and the mind, what you know to be true and how you feel, in order to come to a conclusion, to make a decision and be able to kind of move into that. But you've got 2 major arcanas right now. So you've got to start thinking that something big is happening for you guys. You're really the 5 of Swords. Yeah, you know, sometimes the 5 of Swords can indicate conflict, but the 5s to me are always a time of transition and instability. And in the beginning part of the video, I kind of talked about how that's what that is. But if you think about 4s being so stable, well, after that comes disruption. And for you guys, it's in the mind, mental disruption that's happening right now. And so the Lovers card is saying, like, can you bring this down? Yeah, look at these Queen cards you're getting, Queen of Cups. So that's what I was picking up on earlier about how I feel like it's not so much that you want to be super harsh and mean with your words, but rather, because sometimes this Emperor card can be quite a dictator a little bit and rule with a really iron fist. That's not what's being asked of you right now. It's asked for mental clarity and to know what you're doing on the inside, and also be able to stand in that mature emotions that you're going through. So once again, like the fact that this came right after the Swords, it's like the heart and the emotions and the mind, there is a combination that is asking for you to make a decision. And once Mercury and Venus, I think for you specifically, Venus should go direct before you make a massive decision. But once again, it just definitely varies because there's still a lot of subconscious stuff going on for you. So Taurus, let me know how this resonates for you. I'll see you guys next time. Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Let's see what messages you need to hear for this portal, the eclipse portal, and these 2 retrogrades that we're having at this time, which are happening in your 11th house. Let's see. And Mercury is your ruler. So when it goes retrograde, Okay, so here's the thing. I'm not sure if I said this in the beginning, but I get this feeling with this time, and this happens a lot during Mercury retrograde, but specifically because the eclipse as well, is that there's this feeling of like tired but wired. And I wonder if this is something that you guys are feeling right now, because this card tells me that there's obviously a level of anxiety and fear about what's to come. This is a very like being scared, because that's really what anxiety is in a sense, right? It's trying to like predict the future and then assigning negative thoughts to what the future could look like and being worried and fearful that something's not going to go the right way, which is interesting because you're on the precipice of some sort of success, right? The Six of Wands is like the card of success. So it's like, you know, something is very successful, and that kind of makes sense with this stuff, all this stuff happening in your 10th house and the North Node there. But maybe what you're worried about is your home situation, because Mercury rules your 1st and your 4th house. So, you know, maybe there's something in the home life that is more upsetting right now, and it's not so much to do with career, because this is definitely a little bit more like career, but also like a little bit of stability is coming back into your life after a time of transition, because this comes after the 5, which is instability and transition. And the Hermit, this makes perfect sense to me, because whenever Mercury goes retrograde for you guys, that whole introspective quality that I was talking about early in the video, in the first part of the video, is extra important for you guys, because it's your ruler, especially as a Gemini rising. So this is a time of going inward and accessing those unconscious thoughts that maybe for the last several months you've had to stuff down because there's been so much going on in your outer life, maybe in your work or within your home life. And now it's coming to the forefront, specifically, I think, for you guys around your identity and where you're going in life, and your home life, your family situation, something about your parents. That's another thing that you could be worried about, is your parents, because your 4th and 10th house are indicated. But this, you know, his lamp is saying that he's going in down under where there's no light, and the lamp is his own conscious awareness. That's what you're taking with you into this aspect of your life, this time period, specifically between eclipses, but really until Mercury's done being retrograde, which is April 7th. Yeah, that's so interesting, because I was talking about how this comes after this 5, which is instability, and then you guys got the 5. So for some of you guys, for a lot of you guys, this could be a new job that you're starting. So either this instability, you know, what's interesting is like, it could, because this came first, it's like you're feeling successful and things are feeling really good. And then you go inside and you kind of like traverse the inner world and the inner depth. And when you do that, you feel this instability that's been actually rising inside of you for the last several months that you haven't really had time to process. Because like I said in the beginning of the video, you know, we spend most of our time with Mercury in the conscious realm, and then you take the journey within and you're like, holy crap, there's a lot of stuff in here, there's a lot of conflict in here that I need to work around. And it could be around career as well, because of the 10th house stuff. But yeah, I just feel like for a lot of you guys, it's more within the home life. And whenever I see this, if you are having issues, like reaching out to some sort of a mentor, some sort of a guide, some sort of a healer, someone who can kind of help guide you in this process of going inward and dealing with the instability that you find within, would be really important. Because the 7 of Swords comes up, and to me, wow, you guys got a lot of Swords cards. Look at this. There's a lot of mental stimulation going on, which as a Gemini makes sense. But the 7 of Swords tells me that, like, it's not, I mean, you could see it as someone's deceiving you or you're deceiving somebody else, but honestly, the way that I see the 7 of Swords a lot of times is evading some sort of responsibility, and then leading to the 10, which can feel like some sort of a betrayal, or that something is ending. And, you know, I like having the 10 because you guys have the 9 and then the 10. So it makes me feel like there is a negative cycle that is closing out for you guys regarding your thoughts. and how you're choosing to see a situation or not, because the 10 is indicating that there's a lot more yellow here than here, right? So yellow is happiness and joy. There's a dawn coming, something new is happening. But in order for that to end, I think, and for you to really have this new beginning that you're looking for, you're going to have to take responsibility for your thoughts and your actions as well. But it starts with you guys, with your thoughts first, for sure. Until you start taking more responsibility and not evading your role in this, in the chaos that's happening, it's going to not be as fruitful, because this Mercury retrograde, like I said, is like, it's trying to get you to see something. And to see that thing, I talked a lot about this in the beginning part of the video, which I highly recommend if you didn't watch that, because I talk about Mercury and that's your ruler. What you're seeing is maybe coming to you from the outside world, but it's actually something that's being reflected within you. It's acting as a mirror for you, and it's important for you to learn to walk away from any emotionally dissatisfying situation. But I feel like for you guys, because I got so many sword cards, I almost feel like, you know, this could be walking away from an emotionally dissatisfying home life if you're feeling that way. But I really feel like for you guys, this could be like walking away from an emotionally dissatisfying pattern within yourself as well. Or it could be walking away and wanting to change like a home situation, a living situation. But I don't know, for you guys, I really feel like this is an internal thing. Like you're really wanting to change some sort of internal emotional pattern that is creating a lot of mental anguish for you and conflict for you as well, probably within the home life. All right, Gemini, let me know how that resonates. I'll see you guys next time. Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Let's see what the energies are, what the tarot messages are for you guys during this portal eclipse. I keep saying portal eclipse portal with these two planets retrograde right now, Venus and Mercury. Okay, we got a few things coming up. Okay, mental conflict, starting something new, transformation, interesting. Oh, and the Magician. Okay. I don't say there is, but it feels like there is a lot of mental conflict going on with you guys right now. The five of Swords being the first card I get makes me feel like it is, there is an unstable mind here. And it's funny because you're actually really looking to explore and expand your horizons, maybe through travel, but maybe through, expansion in general, because you've got Mars in the first, which isn't an expansive planet, but to me it feels like, you know, maybe it's a Jupiter in the 12th, I'm not sure. Well, then not all of the stuff in your 9th house of expansion and travel, and publishing as well. So like it's like you want to be expanding, you want to be growing either as a person, or this to me is generally like a creative project, but it doesn't have to be. It can also be a spiritual pursuit, right? So you're wanting to expand spiritually, or like I said, through travel, but you're having a lot of mental conflict right now, and that's kind of what's holding you back, because what's being asked of you is a massive transformation, and it's a massive transformation around your ability to, look at these two major arcana cards, around your ability to overcome the mental anguish by recognizing that you yourself are creating your reality. Your perception is your reality. And I talked about this, I got the Magician card for someone else, but you know, the Magician card shows us the alchemist. He is the alchemist. He is the one who is transforming lead into gold on the outside, but really what's happening is there's a massive transformation happening inside of his lead being turned into gold. And so this transformation for you guys is, this Death card is asking you to go beyond the mental constructs and the mental frameworks that have kept you small and that have made you feel like life is happening to you and not for you. I got the Four of Cups. So this is a lot of times a time of deep reflection for you. It's interesting. I haven't gotten anything about your career, which I know your 10th house is indicated here, but we're going with the flow here, you know? The Four of Cups to me tells me that there's some sort of discontent with what's happening, and you're taking time to really reflect internally on what it is that you actually want. A lot of times this can indicate that you're not seeing opportunities that are coming to you, and this could be on purpose because you're choosing to go inward, but it could also be that in your state of like mental anguish, you're not seeing what opportunities are around for you to expand in the way that you're wanting to expand. And to me, it's like the real crux of it all. Wow, 2 5s. Yeah, I'm feeling definitely some instability right now. This could actually be fighting and conflict. But I just got something for you guys specifically, because I've gotten this card for other people. For you guys specifically, the 5 is about change, but it's also the building block to 6, which is success. Okay, so when we are on our way to success, it's like we create a stable foundation, and then we're like, okay, we've got a foundation, we got to keep going. And then we're met with conflict, or we're met with a situation that seems to be breaking down the stability that we've built. But this is going up from 4. So you're going up towards 6. The 6 of Wands is a success card. But in that process, nobody said that it wouldn't be marred with issues and things going the wrong way, and you having to get back up on your feet and do things a different way and be creative. And I'm seeing a lot of creativity for you guys necessary right now. And maybe this is in your career because of the 10th house indications here, that you're asked to be more creative, like not so self-deprecating and not so feeling like, oh, everything happens to me. There's no opportunities for me out in the world. It's saying, can you thrive in this conflict? You've got Mars in your 1st house. It's trying to show you that maybe there is a possibility that you can actually do well in conflict. And conflict doesn't have to be interpersonal, although it could be because Venus is retrograde. Conflict can also be that unstable time in between the foundations and success. So a lot of people get to this phase and then they're like, I give up. It's too hard. I can't do this. But really this is saying, like, maybe if you actually engage with this and get creative about it and hold a higher vision of what you're wanting, then it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that you give up and you're like, well, this just isn't working out. Yeah, I feel like you just need to keep working at it. Whatever you're doing, I think you need to recognize that mastery comes through repetition. Skills are learned and mastered through repetition. And the advice I think for you guys specifically right now is just to keep working, to keep your head down and work. And of course, this is like a time of suspension and being unsure of things. And so I think the best way for you guys to do that is to cultivate a sense of expansion internally and work. Just do your work. All right, Cancers, let me know how that resonates for you guys. I'll see you guys next time. Leo, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Oops, let's fix that. Okay, there we go. Let's see what messages the tarot has for you guys during this eclipse portal. Retrogrades happening. The Two of Wands. This is interesting because this is the card that rules the first decan of Aries. And so during the solar eclipse, this is the card that's indicated. So this is a card of like not going back. It's about making a decision and not going back from it. And of course, if you listen to the first part of the video, I talk about how, having 2 retrogrades in between eclipses isn't the best time to make like final decisions around important things. However, with that being said, you can make an internal decision towards something. And for example, if you want to leave your job, you can make the decision that you're leaving your job internally. Don't quit it yet. Don't, completely change your life around, but inside act as though you're going to quit your job. And so, you know, whatever you're doing that for, start kind of walking down that path without actually making the decision, and remain open to things changing, right? So, okay, here's the thing. I talk about this more in the eclipse video, but this thing that I'm talking about making a decision, it's not something that you probably haven't already thought about. So being open to things changing isn't necessarily being like, okay, I've wanted to quit my job for 5 years and now I'm committing to that or whatever this spring. Once everything goes direct, Mars is in your sign, you know, maybe you'll gain new insights and perspectives with Mercury going retrograde that you need to know going forward. So maybe it's like you don't quit your job, but you scale down your hours or something like that, okay? Or something, there's a small tweak, but I think the overarching decision is going to be very stable because it's an internal commitment. And the first decan of Aries, or decan, I always say decan, is where Mercury and Venus are right now and where the solar eclipse will be, are about not going back. So I got for you guys the Hierophant and the Two of Cups. So, you know, with all this stuff happening in your 8th house, there is definitely, and Venus retrograde, there is definitely a chance of meeting somebody who is a past life partner. Now, this doesn't have to be romantic. It could be business as well. To a lesser degree, it could be friendships. But I feel like for you guys, it's either romantic or it's business, that you're meeting someone who could really help you on this path. And let's see what the Hierophant is all about. Yeah, see, so I got the Ace of Wands. It feels like, you know, the Hierophant is a Taurus card and it rules tradition and institutions. You've got Jupiter in your 11th house, so that could have something to do with it. But I also feel like for a lot of you guys, there is something that's changing in this part of your chart, right? With Jupiter here. And there's an expansion happening, and maybe this is how you're meeting this soul-aligned partner, is through the internet or through a group or some sort of community organization, or through your networks, right? You have a friend that has a friend that has a friend, and you meet somebody who's very aligned. And you're doing this while you're sharing ideas that you have. This coming up, the Ace of Wands, is very creative card. It's a very spiritual card as well. So it could be that you're having a new idea and you're wanting to implement it into the world, and there's someone who can come in and help you or assist you. That card, to me, the Two of Cups, is really about collaboration. Ah, wow. This is interesting. It's about collaboration, and I wonder if collaboration is something that's difficult for you or uncomfortable for you, or there are negative patterns around connecting to others and trusting other people. Like you've got all this stuff in your 8th house, which can bring up these issues of intimacy and vulnerability, and you know, how guarded you are around those things privately and publicly. And maybe this is something that's actually like held you back. Maybe you could get further with other people's help or other people's input, or collaborating with other people in a new way. And for you guys specifically, what is that about? The Seven of Pentacles. I wonder if there's I already talked about this as an example, but I wonder if there's a dissatisfaction of either your work, your income, or, you know, feeling like you've put a lot of work into something. Yeah, see? Okay, I just got it. All right. Because the South Node is in your 2nd house, right? We just had an eclipse there. And then the North Node, along with the Sun, Neptune, and Saturn, are in your 8th house. So it's like you're feeling this dissatisfaction in your work life, in your how much money you're making, your values as well, your self-esteem. And you're not utilizing something that could be, as, you know, Lori Lothian from Lunatic Astrology pointed this out to me, and it's, you know, I'm like, yeah, this is good. It's like you're not utilizing the fact that sometimes when you don't have self-esteem, other people can help your esteem, right? It's other, you can rely on momentarily, obviously don't rely on this for the rest of your life, momentarily with these transits in your house of other people's appreciation of you. Other people's appreciation of the work that you've put in, even if you don't feel like you've, Leos tend to have a really high standard for their achievements. And so maybe letting other people praise you and letting other people kind of build you up if you're not feeling so good or so hot right now. Because ultimately, when I see this coming up, I feel like you're in the 8th house rules addiction. So there's a 12th. And you've got those indicated, both of them. And I feel like this is a time, especially with the retrogrades in between the eclipses, of releasing the addictive patterns. And this can really be around anything, because the 12th house is indicated your subconscious. Releasing the patterns that keep you from achieving what you know you're capable of achieving. And so there are patterns that are holding you back. This could be actual addictions to substances, but it could also just be, like I said, addictive behaviors around intimacy and letting people into your world and wanting to collaborate with other people. And the High Priestess is saying to go within, to embrace the sacred mystery. The 8th and the 12th house being illuminated for you guys during this time is saying that you need to really learn. I know this is hard. You're a fixed sign. You like to know what's happening. You need to really allow this liminal space to exist. You need to really, especially regarding, I think for a lot of you guys, it's work and money, but it can also be other things as well, obviously. It could be like work, money, and your social networks. Organizations. That's probably why I was thinking about the quitting your job thing, because you could be like, quitting a social organization which employs you. But this is the High Priestess to me is all about entering into the sacred divine feminine that has no plan but to understand itself. And with your ruler in the 8th, this is really important. Then it's going to go into the 9th. And even then it gets really important too, because now you're just taking the deep, watery depths of these unconscious of the 8th house into the 9th house and exploring it and moving into the world with it and expanding your consciousness through this recently gained awareness. Leos, let me know how this resonates for you guys. I'll see you next time. For my Virgo, Sun, Moon, and Rising, let's see what the tarot cards have to say about this eclipse portal for you guys and your ruler, Mercury, being retrograde. So make sure you listen to the first part of the video if you haven't. I talk a lot about Mercury, and obviously this is going to be affecting you guys more because you're ruled by Mercury, and Mercury also rules your career and your life direction. So let's see what, oh wow, okay, oh boy, okay. So as I said, life direction of the Chariot. And the Chariot is so much about life direction, right? It's a chariot, it's moving towards something. There is a sense with this card that there is a new direction for you, but you're not the charioteer. Is that the right word? You're not the charioteer. So your will and determination when it comes to the Chariot are important, because you do have a say in this, right? It's not like yours, but it almost feels like somebody else is pulling the reins, okay? It could be fate, it could be another person in your life, it could be your job, it could be, an organization or something like that, that is pulling you in a certain direction, but you are also deciding to go, and you're deciding to go full force. Like you're like fully in it and you're ready to actually move towards it. But then I don't say but, and then I got the 5 of Wands, which is coming up quite a bit in the readings so far, and the 8 of Pentacles. So for you guys, for sure, with the Jupiter in the 10th and Pluto in your 6th, there is something that's happening around work. Now, if you're not in the workforce, then it's something about building some sort of a legacy. So whatever you feel like is a legacy for you, your public status even, is something that you're working on right now that is wanting to expand. And to me, the 10th house is a directional house, right? It's a house that shows our life direction as the public sees it. So it's a very public life change that could be happening. For you guys, this Five of Wands. It's funny because it's been coming up, but I've been getting different messages around Five of Wands for everybody. So let's get a clarity card for the Five of Wands for you guys. Okay, so the clarity cards that I got are the Knight of Wands and the Seven of Swords. So number one, I just want to say that you guys are probably feeling quite disoriented, feeling actually, you know, you could actually be feeling kind of impulsive right now, which is really interesting because that's like not the energy that's being asked for. I know Mercury's in Aries, Venus is in Aries. Yes. I just saw your guys' fully 7th house. I'm always, my mode of being in the world and doing my readings is very highly favored to intuition rather than like, oh, this is happening in your chart. But I'm trying to be more intuitive. So like now I'm just seeing that you guys have, of course, this conglomerate, this stellium of stuff happening in your 7th house. So like, yes, that could be leading you in a certain direction is other people. And then you've got Mercury and Venus retrograde in your 8th house, which is other people's money, it's other deep emotional bonds, business partners as well there. Anyway, just notice that. But yeah, it's almost like you guys could be feeling quite impulsive, and that's not what is being asked for right now. And it's interesting that I got this card along with it. It feels like you guys are evading something. Okay, in the beginning part of the video, I talked a lot about how Mercury brings the messages from the unconscious, also is the one that pushes them down in the unconscious and kind of has that capability. And so for Virgos, I think specifically, even though you can be quite self-reflective, being ruled by the Hermit card, being ruled by the Hermit card, I feel as though you guys tend to very much prefer to stay in the conscious mind. It just makes more sense for you to be like logical and clear about what's happening. But this time is calling for some sort of responsibility taken over. And I think this is very much true for Geminis as well. Geminis and Virgos, of their internal state. Mercury is a mirror. More so Gemini, but Mercury is too. And so like in the beginning of the video, I talked about how like something is dying to be seen by you. And for you guys, it's wow. And then I got the Knight of Swords, which is very, very impulsive and has a very quick tongue. Like what I would say for you guys specifically right now is, number one, are you deceiving other people? Are you deceiving yourself? These are things to be thinking about. And for you guys, I think it's around relationships. It doesn't have to be, but I think it is around relationships. The Lover's card can be about major decisions that are being made by combining the heart and the mind. So you guys like to kind of stay more in the mental realm. And Pisces likes to stay more in the heart realm, in the soul. And so there's a combination that's asking to happen in order for you guys to make a really big decision in your life. But I also feel like because you've got this stuff in your 7th house and Venus is retrograde, for you guys, this is really about relationships, making sure that you're taking your own responsibility for the mental energy that you bring into relationships. And really right now, because I see a lot of impulsivity in your actions and in your words, being very, very aware of your actions and your words during the time that Mercury is retrograde. Now, I also want to talk about the fact that I have the King of Pentacles and the 8 of Pentacles. So there is definitely, like I said, something about work here. Even if it's not towards a career or a job, you're working steadily. Oh my goodness, look at all of the fire cards you guys are getting. This is so funny because I just don't think of fiery. Are you guys feeling this impulsivity? Because generally we don't feel that until the second half of the retrograde, but maybe you guys are feeling impulsive in response to the lunar eclipse and shedding, and you wanting to start something brand new. I don't know. I'd love to hear from you guys down below if you're feeling that fire, and maybe it's just passion. Maybe it's just passionate about something. But it feels like with the cards I'm getting that it's quite impulsive as well. But yeah, there's definitely something to do with work, and maybe this could even just be working on yourself. Like I said, if you don't have a job that you're currently working on. and building some sort of a legacy for future generations to know you as. But if you are working on anything, this is a time to continue working, is what I'm hearing. And work towards building some sort of stability in that part of your chart. The Fool. Yeah, this is definitely going to be relevant, especially once we have the solar eclipse in Aries, which obviously I'm doing a video on that as well. But this is very much the kind of energy that Aries embodies. Is not technically an Aries card, but it's the energy that Aries embodies, in which it's like jumping headfirst into the unknown. And like, I think that's kind of the dichotomy between these two is interesting, because it's like something is steering you into a certain direction, and you may or may not be the charioteer. I don't think you are, but you're willing to go with it. You're using your will and determination, and you're going to be very successful in it. But in a sense, there's still this like sense of you're walking into a complete unknown. Even though you're doing it willingly, you're walking into a complete unknown. And if that's you guys, I'm really proud of you, because that's not something that Virgo loves to do. I'm getting a lot of cards about decisions. Yeah, there's a lot of decisions for you guys. And you need more information. It's not the time to make a massive, massive decision right now. It's more time to reflect on it. But I also got the Queen of Pentacles. So, you know, whenever I get the Queen of Pentacles, it makes me feel like it's like that person who's like really involved in their work and making sure things go the right way. And the Queen of Pentacles is like much more even-handed and is much more blending the qualities of like nurture with finances. And so like, if you're finding yourself in relationships or in a position where you are leading so deeply with the mind, or like, well, I'm creating stability and foundation, that's important to me. Remember that there is a balance to be had with also being very nurturing and kind and taking care of others. So Virgos, let me know how this resonates for you guys. Let me know how you're feeling down below. Like I said, you guys might be feeling quite low energy, but the cards also say you're feeling fiery. So I'm very, very intrigued at what is going on. I'll see you guys soon. For my Libra sun, moon, and rising, let's see what messages we have for you guys during this eclipse portal when Mercury and your ruler Venus are retrograde. So you're definitely feeling that retrograde more. And for you guys, in my opinion, it's very specific to relationships because it's in your 7th house. So it could be about work too, and your work relationships and your work conditions. But I also definitely feel like there's some stuff going on with your relationships, particularly your partner. Jesus Christ, okay. So we got this, partnerships. Yep. The moon, it came out reversed, and I don't like to keep cards reversed, but maybe that's what it needs to be. No, we're not gonna do it. We're not gonna do it. I'll just read it like it's reversed a little bit. It gives me information. So definitely about partnerships, right? And for a lot of you guys, honestly, when this card comes up, it could really be that your work, it could really be that, you know, you're meeting people during this retrograde period, especially for you guys with Venus retrograde, that are from your past life. It does not have to be romantic. It can be platonic. It can even be business or people at your work, because I got this. Now, I've been saying this forever, and it keeps coming up for you guys, is that Libra risings, there's a new job, a new creative project, something new coming up. I can't even, like, without the tarot card, the astrology shows it, my intuition feels that there is, if you are not in a work environment that is aligned to you, it is coming. It is coming, and you're going to get that. And maybe it's through connections with other people, or maybe it's through someone you meet at work. And the moon is really interesting because it's really picking up on this sense of like this veil. And Libra likes to stay, like a lot of other signs, you know, it's an air sign, so it definitely likes to stay more in the mind rather than in the emotional, intuitive realm. Obviously, if you have other placements, that's going to change. But this is a time, like I said in the beginning part of the video, that is specifically geared towards accessing the more intuitive, empathic, psychic, sensitive, emotional aspect of our lives and allowing things to come up from our unconscious. So the moon actually in the birth chart is a very unconscious planet, right? It's things that we don't have to consciously do. We just kind of do them. And the moon is also, this is a very sensitive and intuitive card as well, but it also shows that there is more to the story. And that's very relevant to having these two planets retrograde, especially, like I said, your ruler being Venus being retrograde, that this time is inviting you to bask in that intuitive realm, this knowing that there's a veil that is kind of over your situation, especially over your work situation. I think for you guys, there's a veil. I think for your relationships, it's probably more of a direct conflict because it's Aries in your 7th house. But when it comes to your work situation, there's more of a veil and you're being asked to like really go into your intuition. And I think what you'll find actually in your intuition, which is funny because I just saw the South Node in your 12th house, which is a house of moksha and liberation. And what the 8 of Swords tells us about moksha and liberation is that a lot of times we ourselves are the ones who keep us stuck. And that's why the 8th or the 12th house is the house of self-undoing, because it's our own subconscious beliefs that keep us in the positions that we are at and don't let us achieve freedom in the ways that we desire. And so the 8 of Swords is often indicating that you are feeling stuck. It could be feeling stuck in a relationship. It could be feeling stuck in a job or a career. But the thing is the 8 of Swords tells you that you have the tools necessary to untangle yourself. But the answer lies in a position that you don't love to go, which is in your intuitive mind, into your emotions actually, and see what are you feeling? What do you actually want on a deeper level, right? And the answer is, this is a time to sit with those questions, right? Like this is a time of questions, not answers. And like I said, specifically for you guys, it's going to be until after Venus goes direct that you're going to have answers. But I also got this, which could mean that you're at a stage in, okay, I mean, it can mean a lot of things. And this is a general reading. So like, I like to be as broad as possible because it's general. I'm not reading it for a specific person, but the Four of Wands can be a celebration. That can be one thing. So you could be like going to like someone's birthday party at this time, or celebrating something in this eclipse portal. It could also mean that you've kind of reached a certain level of stability or a certain level of foundation within your home life or your relationship. This could be a lot of times like moving from being boyfriend and girlfriend to getting engaged, or, you know, something like that. But I also just feel like for a lot of you guys, this is something to do with specifically your relationships, because I don't feel like the foundation, I don't feel like it's a foundational thing, because I feel like actually what's happening is you guys are kind of feeling unfoundational. Like you're feeling, especially in your career, like you're feeling like you don't, or if you do have a foundation, like you have a solid career, you have a solid job, you're feeling that it's not satisfying to you. Yeah, as soon as I said it's not satisfying to you. This is a card of betrayal. So for some of you guys, this could be happening in relationships, or someone at work could be, you know, making you feel like they've betrayed you or that they're not there for you. But and feeling like a sense of great loss is can happen here. But you could also just be walking away from something that is no longer emotionally fulfilling for you. And this could be a job, this could be a relationship. I think that those are the areas of your lives that are being kind of lit up right now. And it's funny because none of the cards I'm getting are really indicating, other than this one, that it's in your job. There's more cups and swords. So, and then as soon as I say that, I get this. Okay. So yeah, the tarot was pretty much telling me, no, it definitely on a broad general level, it is definitely emotional aspects, so relationships and also work, because these are two very new energies, which tells me that in a lot of ways, this energy that you're moving into regarding work is fresh. It's new. And like I've been saying, I think that it's definitely more aligned. We got the Justice card, which is your guys' card. So for some of you guys, there could be a sense you've got Jupiter in the ninth. If you're in some sort of a legal dispute of any sort, or something about immigration, or a higher, and any sort of injustice that you felt has happened to you recently, it's gonna most likely be righted. But this is also your guys' card, which is about balance and kind of becoming a little even keeled, because the thing about balance is it's an active process, right? It's constantly balancing. And so Libra is actually, even though because they have such a love for harmony, can be easily thrown off balance in a sense. And so this is asking for you to come into a deeper sense of going with the flow of imbalance to balance. Like that's kind of one of the things about Venus retrograde, is that it shows you that there is some disharmony necessary in order to achieve harmony, and that there needs to be a state of being imbalanced in order to find balance again. And so flowing between these states easier is kind of what's being brought up for you during this time. And the message with this state of limbo that I talked about in the beginning of the video is just to kind of go with it. And that seems to be a really big message for you guys too, is to kind of go with the changes that are happening and suspend this idea that you have finality right now. All right, Libras, let me know how that resonates. I'll see you next time. All right, for Scorpio and Scorpio rising and Scorpio moon, of course, let's see what messages the tarot has for you guys during this liminal space, this eclipse portal with 2 planets retrograde and feeling suspended in the unknown. It's funny because you guys are, of course, a water sign, and the 8th house of the unknown, kind of the unconscious, but you guys are a sign that likes to have emotional control. And so letting go of emotional control can be kind of a lifelong journey, depending on your other placements for sure, but there is a desire to maintain emotional control and sometimes emotional power at all costs. So let's see, the star. Wow, beautiful. Huh. And my eye just goes directly to the 11th house, which is the house of Aquarius, which rules this card, where you guys have the South Node right now. And we just had a South Node eclipse there. So maybe your future is changing. You're seeing your future in a different way, but this is quite positive. Like you're seeing a new hope and vision for your future. And this comes after the Tower card. So it comes after like a massive crumbling of a foundation. And then you have this sense of hope that comes after that is, that can be very, very welcomed. And so maybe during this time, there has been harsh words that have been said, or there's been an impulsivity in the speech, and that caused some sort of a tower moment or something. Yeah, something was said. A lot of times when Mercury goes retrograde, if we try to like act too heavily with our words and our thoughts, it tends to kind of backfire, because that's not really, it's not really attuned to be a direct time with Mercury retrograde, which has been here since March 15th, of course. And when we try to be direct, it could be misinterpreted. Miscommunications are just very, very likely during this time. But yeah, regardless of all of that stuff, there is a sense that there's recently been a very big moment, like a tower moment of, it could be something that actually happened in the physical life, so something falling apart, or it could, a lot of times the tower moment is a sudden realization that makes you have to kind of break something down, because it was never built on a good foundation anyway. And so you're getting the Magician card. So oh wow, painful endings. Yeah, see, this is kind of what I feel like I was picking up, what I was picking up from is this, like, there's a painful ending. There could be even sense of betrayal or loss, or feeling that like somebody literally stabbed you in the back. But the 10 means that there's a ending of a cycle. And so, it's also then simultaneously the beginning of a new cycle, which is probably where you're trying to or have access this sense of more hope for the future. And really just, yeah, it's like the light at the end of the tunnel is either being shown to you during this time, or has already been shown to you during this time, will be shown to you. And the Magician is amazing because it's telling me that you're really on a quest to self-mastery. You're on a quest to, okay, you know how I was saying before I even did the tarot about you guys and how you guys really desire a sense of like emotional control, whereas like Taurus likes to be in control of their environment. Scorpio is more so focused on internal control as an archetype and the emotional control and having the emotional upper hand or whatever. Being born as a Scorpio rising inherently gives to these like power struggles within relationships that you are working with a lot, that can, depending on where you have Scorpio, can become almost like it's almost like a second nature, and it's hard for you to actually even see that you're doing it. And it takes a lot of consciousness to, like I said, it really depends where you have Scorpio. But the Magician is saying this is, you're on a road to self-mastery around something. Let's see what that something is. Wow, you guys are getting the Hierophant, which is the Taurus card, which is interesting. So this tells me there could be something with your relationships happening because Venus is retrograde and Venus rules your 7th house of partnership. So it could be business partnerships, it could be your best friend, it could be a relationship that is going through changes right now. And Mercury's retrograde too, which rules your 8th house. So I'm feeling like business partnership or very deep emotional bonds, so like a marriage, a long-term partnership, definitely could be very big for you guys. And that's maybe why you're getting so many of these major arcanas. But yeah, the Hierophant is the Taurus card, and it's about tradition, and it's about implementing and following some sort of like rules and being quite righteous. So some of you guys could be wanting to go back to school, wanting to, and now as I said that I see your Mars in the 9th house, attend higher education. Maybe you're looking to institutions, so religion or any sort of faith. So it doesn't have to be a religion. It can be some sort of philosophy to help you get through anything that's going on right now. You have a lot of stuff happening in your 5th house of yourself and your self-expression, your love nature, your creativity, right? And we talked about this with the Virgo lunar eclipse recently about the 11th house and, you know, possibly ending certain associations, networks, groups, things like that. Yeah, maybe you're looking to some sort of, it could even be like astrology or Buddhism, some sort of a defined tradition that is giving you, that can during this time of limbo, give you a more peaceful understanding of what is happening. Oh man, I got the Hermit reverse for you guys. Okay, I don't usually read reverse cards, but it's good to know. Holy crap, you guys. That's a lot of major arcana. This is massive for you. This is so big. The Hermit to me is so interesting because it's, in the beginning of the video, I talked about Hermes and his ability to go into the underworld and bring and meet with Hades, Pluto, and come back up. And this is kind of what the Hermit is about. It's about going into the unconscious, going within, introspection, and knowing that it's going to be dark down there, but you're carrying your own light within. And that's kind of what keeps you afloat. And it's making me feel like this is where your hope is coming from. Is it's not coming from the external situation looking like it's amazing. I mean, hopefully, but I don't feel like for most of you guys, this is general reading, obviously, I feel like most of you guys are having to generate your own light during a dark time. And the Hermit is saying that it's still worthy to do this because on the other side of this is, oh my God, another major arcana. On the other side of this is breaking patterns that have kept you stagnant for far too long, especially when it comes to relating to other people. Wow. The chains that have bound you in your relationships. The Empress, holy... I've not gone on reading like this at all today. This is crazy. This is insane. The Empress, this is telling me that along with the Magician card, with this influence in your 5th house of creativity, self-expression, of the self in general, romance and love, this is indicating to me that you are in a space, number one, very like connect to nature. Connect to nature. Empress is always big about that, but she is Venus herself. She is creation. She is harmony. She is beauty. She is the earth. And so there's a sense to me that you are not just attaining a sense of self-mastery through creation, right? Because it's like the magician is about creating your world within, and then it becomes without, right? He's the alchemist. And so with the Empress, it takes on even a more tangible form in which you are also actively creating something in the material realm. This could even be, once again, general reading. This could even be birth, like giving birth to something or getting pregnant. But for a lot of you guys, it's going to be a birth to a new self. It's going to be birth to a creative project, a new way of expressing yourself in the world, like we talked about in the previous. Yeah, see, this is, okay, all right. So the Six of Pentacles to me, it could mean that you're feeling financially okay right now. That could definitely be for some of you guys. But the way I actually see this is a card about like equanimity. And it's about, you know how I was talking about like that power struggle that happens inherently in relationships with Scorpio placements? Specifically, I would say the rising and the moon. The sun, not so much, but it can. And of course, Venus, if you have Venus in Scorpio. This is telling me that, yeah, it could be about sharing, and you wanting to be more generous with your finances, or finding a better balance with your finances. So maybe you've been giving too much and now you need to pull back and give less, or you're not giving enough and now you want to give more. And that could be within relationships, or it could just be like charity, or, at work or whatever. But I feel like this is also pointing to the fact that you are recognizing that the power struggles that are inherent in your relationships are something that maybe this is the realization you're getting from Mercury. Maybe this is the realization you're getting, is that like, am I doing that? Like, what is my intention when I am engaging in certain behavioral patterns that have been long embedded in me? Because the Scorpio rising, this reading is going to be probably my longest. But I feel like because you're getting so many major arcana cards, like this is a big time for you guys. When I think about Scorpio risings, you come into this world with an inherent sense of what it takes to survive. So much of life can become about survival, and not so much about the fifth house, which is enjoyment and pleasure and love and just expression, because there's this like need to be private and to hold aspects of yourself in, because you don't trust people and you feel this need that you are on a survival mission. And so like, obviously that's not going to just disappear, right? That's not why you came into this world. You came into this world with those Scorpionic qualities for a reason. But there is a sense of balance that is needed. There is a sense that these messages from your unconscious that are coming up with Mercury retrograde during this time, it could be around work, right? But it's in your sixth house, which is funny because the sixth house is the house of unequal partnerships. So kind of how I was talking about how this could be about money, but it could also be the fact that you're recognizing this inequality within your partnerships, and you're sensing that very acutely during this time. And so maybe thinking about like, what am I being mirrored with through my relationships, my unequal partnerships, or it could be work relationships too, because it's in your sixth house. What is being mirrored to me? Because I talked about in the beginning of this video about how this is showing a mirror to you, and these reflections are asking, it's like you're getting a chance to recalibrate your reality through these reflections that you're getting from your unconscious. Yeah, King of Cups. I definitely feel like for you guys, this is an emotional transformation that's asking to happen, because it seems like to me, your unconscious, that aspect that I was talking about that is wanting to be seen, is a need for play. It's a need for love. It's a need for affection and romance. It's a need for creativity and self-expression, and not being overly serious and survival based during this time. And seeing how by allowing those things to come up and engaging with them in this time, how they can help lighten your load and push you into this new reality that wants to come up for you, because the cards are indicating you are working on major themes in your life. These are not your day-to-day themes. These are major life themes in your life, okay? Wow, Scorpios, let me know how that resonates. I'll see you guys next time. My Sag, Moon, Sun, and Rising. Let's see what messages we have for you guys during this eclipse portal with Mercury and Venus retrograde. Mercury for you guys is quite important. It rules your 10th and 7th house. So your relationships and your career could be a point of reflection for you during this time, or a point of suspension for you in which you are carefully reviewing and reassessing these aspects of your life, right? And then of course we got Venus retrograde, which is bringing up, I talked about that in my Venus retrograde video, but yeah, there's a lot of reassessing, reviewing, and then being in this eclipse portal, which is definitely a time of kind of a disorientation or transition, really. It doesn't have to be perceived in a negative light. It could definitely be perceived in a more positive light. So I don't want to make it seem like it's always negative. And it's so funny that I say that for you guys in the reading, because it's the first time in the readings that I've said that. And it's like, my Sag moon is always looking for the positive side of things and like, how do I make this better? And very philosophical. And so of course, when I'm accessing your guys' energy, I'm feeling compelled to bring a positive spin to the eclipse portal and all that stuff. I just love that. I often talk about how I forget I have a Sagittarius moon. My moon is completely unaspected, which is very rare in Sagittarius, except for Lilith and Vertex and the galactic center, which conjunct my moon. So a lot of points conjunct my moon, a lot of points, but not, the cards are like, okay, stop talking. This one just flew out. But anyways, I just feel disconnected from my Sagittarius moon sometimes. I forget that when I do a Sag moon reading, I'm like, hey, I'm a Sag moon. Okay, so we're moving away from something. We're moving away from chaos and instability. See, this is what I was picking up on too, that I was saying it doesn't have to be a negative experience. Maybe you have moved away from something that does not feel quite as good to you, and now you're moving into calmer waters. And so maybe you're sensing this retrograde period eclipse portal as a sense of like reprieve from a lot of changes that have happened actually recently for you. Wow, yeah, 2 6s in a row, and 6s are about harmony. It's ruled by Venus. So this actually to me tells me that you could be maybe traveling to, both of these are actually travel cards. So you could actually be traveling during this time or planning travel during this time. Now, of course, Mercury being retrograde, I'm traveling during this time. I just realized that. So yeah, you could be traveling, you could be going home during this time, or revisiting childhood memories as well. A lot of times when we have 5th house and 4th house activation like you guys have, this could definitely be something like that, like visiting home or visiting childhood memories, or really working with like the inner child. But yeah, 2 cards that indicate travel here, so that is very likely. And it's probably not super far, but and the Chariot is also travel. Chariot, oh my gosh, the vehicle. So interesting. Sagittarius, please let me know if you are traveling, or if during this 2-week time frame, you guys are planning travel. Like maybe it'll come up a little bit later, I don't know. Also, this is speaking to the fact that you are, sometimes with the Chariot, it's almost like you're moving in a certain direction, but you're not necessarily, it's not called the charioteer, which I think is important. That even though this card is a lot about will and determination and or more masculine sign, like yes, you're taking the reins almost, and you're going somewhere and you're going to be successful because you are not willing to not be successful. Like I think people underestimate Sagittarius's ability to be really successful, actually, like because you just have this like demeanor of being lighthearted and optimistic and philosophical. And it took me a very long time for me to really understand Sagittarius outside of books and knowledge, because I was like, this doesn't add up. Like some of them are like that, but a lot of them are actually quite strategic. I mean, you're ruled by the Archer, right? The Archer has a goal. So you could be getting very clear about what you want in your life. Now, this could be a living situation for some of you guys because you've got the North Node in your 4th house. A living situation, it could be you trying to work on childhood trauma or childhood themes that have been kind of governing your life, and reparenting your inner child, maybe because there were some issues with the parents. Yeah, it could also be like choosing a new direction in career through releasing old careers. But I think that the emphasis for you guys is definitely on the home life, and you're really, somebody else could be taking charge. So somebody else could be driving the chariot, which I think is interesting, is Mercury's retrograde and it rules your other house of other people. So somebody else could have a hand in what you're doing. So it could be like a boss or another person in some way, but you are also willfully choosing to go with it. And I think that's important too, to tell you guys. Knight of Cups with the 5th house indicated. This could be a time of romance and creativity as well. And Queen of Cups, very emotional. Yeah, so I'm feeling like this is a time of emotional exploration. Maybe that the traveling cards that I got were not just for physical travel, but the travel within the emotional realm, because I'm getting these. And, you know, the emotional life of a Sagittarius is an interesting thing because it is definitely very elusive. It's definitely very elusive. And the Queen of Cups specifically to me is telling me that, like, you are trying to mature there. Like, you are trying to explore the inner emotional realms in order to gain more maturity. And another Cups card, the 3 of Cups. This is saying this is about collaboration. This could be a time where you're celebrating with other people or working with other people in order to accomplish something, or just to celebrate life together. This is less about accomplishing something, I guess, and more about just enjoying each other's presence and working with other people and collaborating with people simply for the joy of it and not because you're trying to get something. It also could be an increased time of harmony within, or an increased time of harmony within your partnerships and friendships, because you've got the 3 here, which is about collaboration and coming together and creation of some sort of a joyful memory. This is feeling like Venus in the 5th, Mercury in the 5th, retrograding. Maybe these are coming up from your unconscious. I talk a lot about this in the beginning part of the video if you haven't watched about what these retrogrades kind of can be doing for us. So maybe from the unconscious, you're getting these themes of like, okay, let me just say, a lot of Sagittarius people tend to really like their relationships to go a certain way. Like I said, I know you guys are immutable, but you're an archer. Like, I don't know, it's not as mutable as I think people think you are. Like, you can be, but it depends on the rest of your chart. But I think for you guys right now, you're really wanting to let other people have a say in how your life is going or your relationships are going. I'm picking up a lot about your relationships because not only does it rule your 7th house, but Jupiter is also in your 7th house, right? So you can apply this to work too, I think, and other relationships. So like your home life, your parents, your living situation. These are themes that could be coming up too around collaboration and wanting to like find ways to be more together rather than separate, I think is a big theme for you. I actually really love this for you guys because I don't feel like this is a part of your life that you like to explore. Sagittarius likes to either explore physically, like through travel, or likes to explore mentally and philosophically, not so much the emotional realm. So I think this is a really big growing phase emotionally for you guys. And then the freaking 10 of Cups. Are you kidding me? This is like the ultimate satisfaction in life, right? Because if we think about all of the 10s, except for the 10 of Swords, which is also still positive in the sense that something's ending, so like a hard time's ending. But the 10s are all like, it's like 10 of Pentacles, abundance. But ultimately, if we don't feel abundant on an emotional level, then it doesn't matter what we have in life, right? So the fact that you guys are getting 10 of Cups, this is a card I get very rarely. This could be a major completion or a major cycle it could be a major celebration. A lot of times this is like a wedding. This is like, you know, you and a partner, or you and a friend. It's more like partner, or a really big relationship in your life, or coming to like a really great place of understanding. It's like the little kids are running around, like everyone's happy, everyone's joyful. Lots of cup cards. And I just want to say, if you don't have a partnership or you're like, this doesn't resonate, this could be within yourself. And the Hanged Man. So the Hangman is a lot of times comes up when we are at a position in our lives where we are feeling like a little stuck, and it's almost like if we don't, there's a necessary pause that's necessary. There's a necessary pause that's necessary. And so if we don't pause ourselves, then the universe will make us feel stuck or put obstructions in our way to make us feel like we're stuck, because there is something that needs to be seen from a different perspective. I think Sagittarius has a lot to do with perspective, right? I talked about that in the beginning of your guys' reading, that, you know, it's like always about putting things in perspective, you know? And something in your life right now is asking for you to have more perspective around it. What the heck? Like, I feel like you guys are just getting all the cup cards. I don't know. This is crazy. This is wish fulfillment as well. So, like, once again, like emotional satisfaction. Maybe you guys are recognizing how important it is to feel emotionally satisfied. Like, to have harmony and balance and love and affection in your relationships. And maybe that's a part of your life that's been missing, because maybe there has been a sense of like ruling and, you know, things must be this way and this is what I want. You know, it's a very powerful, fiery energy. And this is kind of just saying like, yeah, just how much more can you, whether you're a man or a woman, like how much more can you delve into like the watery feminine depths of receptivity and emotional understanding. Yeah, I think you're being asked to jump into something new way of being, a much lighter and a much freer way of being emotionally. So Sagittarius, please let me know how that resonates. I'll see you guys next time. For my Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising, let's see what the tarot has to say about this eclipse portal. We've got 2 planets retrograde during this time. I talked about that a lot in the beginning of the video. Make sure you check that out if you haven't, to kind of get a feel of what the universe is asking for us this time. And then obviously this will go a little bit deeper. Let's bring up your guys' chart too. To see what's happening. There's such a softening happening. I feel that. There's a softening happening for you guys. In the way that you think, in the way that you speak. I just took this long, deep breath. It's like, you know, not really an energy I feel with Capricorns a lot. Soft. I mean, that's untrue. I think deep inside you guys are very, very soft, but it's not generally when I access your energy, you guys are usually like, get to the point. It's usually you and Aries are like, so what's going on? What are we doing? All right, let's see what the tarot has to say about you guys. Why do I feel so relaxed? I love that for you guys. All right. No way, Capricorn working hard? What's this indecision about? Oh. Oh, okay. A lot of cups here. Well, I only have 4 cards. All right, so we've got this going on. Jupiter in the 6th. Could totally be a part of this. You're working hard, you're working towards something, you're trying to gain mastery in something. There's a skill. Well, the 3rd house also rules skills. So maybe there's a skill that you are learning during this time that you are working hard towards gaining mastery in, or you're just doing it because you want to and you're enjoying it. But I got the 2 of Swords, which is indecision, which, you know, kind of makes sense to me because we are in the state of limbo where there is a lot being blindfolded because of Mercury's retrogradation. And so I like to pull 2 cards, like what are we feeling undecided about? And I got the 5 of Cups, which is like emotional dissatisfaction and seeing, and it's like a card of pessimism, seeing the cup half empty rather than half full. And then by doing so, missing opportunities because of that. And then I got the 6 of Cups, which is a much happier card, because the 6 is like more balanced and harmonious, because 6s tend to be ruled by Venus, whereas 5s are ruled by Mercury, and they can oftentimes say that there's a period of transition that's happening. So You still have Mars in your 7th house, so this could definitely be like a partner who is learning their boundaries, or who is being aggressive on the negative side, or, you know, speaking up more, or feels more irritable at this time, or more emotional at this time. And maybe that's why you guys are having to like take on this very like relaxed situation, because you, I mean, obviously you've got all this like Pisces stuff piling up in your 3rd house, but then you've got Venus and Mercury going backwards in your home situation. So I wonder if something is changing, or something is kind of up for reevaluation in your home life. This being here also makes me feel like you guys are revisiting old childhood memories. You could also be revisiting childhood places, so like traveling to be with family during these this like 2-week period. The 6th of Cups also always comes up for me when I'm revisiting like childhood patterns as well. So not necessarily memories, but like my inner child, and kind of like tending to her. And so this could be something that you're doing. And then, but it's interesting because it's like the 6 of Cups is quite beautiful. Like it's a positive card. And then on the other side of that, you got this like pessimistic, like, but look at everything that I've missed out on because I had a bad childhood, or, you know, I wasn't able to do what I wanted. And so like, I'm too old now, or I'm too far into my career now, and now I can't do anything because these patterns held me back, or my parents sucked, or whatever. And so now you're in this indecision of like, how do I move forward into more harmony in my life when I feel like it's just like too late to do anything about it? And wow, 2 Pentacle cards. So I'm feeling like for a lot of you guys, money is not the issue right now. Now, obviously, this is a very general reading. So that's, you know, for some of you guys, it could definitely be. But for some of you guys, I feel like money's not the problem, or resources aren't the problem. You're not like struggling super bad financially. Although in this day and age, I feel like most people are to some level struggling financially. But yeah, it doesn't feel like that's the issue. It feels like it's a more internal issue for you guys right now. I talked about this card in my Virgo, lunar eclipse, that this is the card that's ruled by the 3rd decan of Virgo, which comes to this point where you have this money, or you have a sense of abundance, you have a sense of security, you've been successful, you achieved something, which Capricorns love to do, but then it's sitting inert and not really doing anything, and then you feel unhappy with it. So maybe this is what's happening for you guys, is like you're feeling dissatisfied with your current state of internal affair, even though the external world looks fine. Everyone's like, yeah, it's fine. But you're really focused on your immediate environment and your internal world. So you're caring less almost about what other people are thinking, which is a really big feat for Capricorns, because I think being the 10th house, you're very aware of your public status and your public image. And so it's hard for you to not fully care what people think, you know? And so I think you're just during this time, you're really focusing on like, how is my inner world and my immediate environment growing? And that's where your focus is, rather than like what other people will think of me. I got the Star. So this makes me feel like, you know, there has been a recent something. It could have been a tower moment that happened, manifested physically. So something in your life breaking down or letting go of something physically. But a lot of times the tower card is actually some sort of an insight that we gain that crumbles down some sort of thought pattern, or something internally that was never built on strong foundations. And so we get this sort of like insight, which you could have gotten during the lunar eclipse, and that you're still kind of in, right? Because in the beginning of the video, I talked about how it's just like this, we're in this like weird state where we don't really, there's more questions than answers right now. But you're feeling like this sense of positivity and hope, even though you're not really sure what that's gonna look like or how things are gonna get better. And you recognize that there is a level of courage that's gonna be necessary on your end in order for things to change. Whenever I get the Empress card, it makes me think of number one, Venus is retrograde. This is the ultimate Venus card. But this is also about collaboration, creation, creativity, birth. Some of you guys, this is a general reading, so some of you guys could be wanting to get pregnant. You could be getting pregnant. This is always a good sign for something like that. But you could also be birthing something new. And for you guys, I feel like this birthing something new is coming in to your emotional realms. It's coming internally rather than externally or in your day-to-day environment. So maybe the skill that you're learning is more of an artistic skill. Maybe you're wanting to learn a skill that is more artistic and get in touch with maybe aspects of creativity and play that were lost in childhood. I remember seeing a message and it was like, when did you learn to stop singing? And so maybe that's like coming up for a lot of Capricorns. Like, when did you like learn to stop creating and playing or painting or drawing or singing or acting? You know, like when did you learn to suppress that inner child in terms in order to achieve something instead? And those are the thoughts that are coming up out of the unconscious for you personally. But I also do think there's something about work here as well, because you do have that indicated in your chart. And then I got the Magician, which has been coming up a lot, which is about creating your own internal reality, because the Magician is the alchemist. And transforming your thoughts, your third house is indicated, from a state of chaos into a state of peace. And using your mind, because you've got the third, ninth house indicated here, using your mind to create the beliefs that you want to have in order to create the life that you desire. So Capricorns, let me know how that resonates for you guys. I'll see you next time. For my Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising, let's see what messages are coming through for you guys during this eclipse portal while we have Mercury and Venus suspended in retrograde, bringing all sorts of reflections and reassessments and just adding to this transitional time that I talked about in the beginning of this video, which I highly recommend if you guys haven't listened to already. Let's see what messages are coming up for you guys. Indecision. Interesting. Okay, so I got this card, the card of indecision, or having to make a decision but feeling like you don't have all the answers. Well, the cool thing about that is that you don't have all the answers, because we are in a position in which there are more questions than answers, and we are learning how to exist in that space, especially in this first part of the retrograde. So I got the Star, which is your guys' card, and I also got the Seven of Swords. So let's bring up your guys' chart here. So I love this for you because it's telling me that, obviously there's an aspect of you guys that is starting to see something something positive, a positive glimpse into the future, and having that hope. And oftentimes this comes after a tower moment. So like some realization that we have that makes us have to deal with the outcome of something crumbling. And it could be something in your physical realm. A lot of times with a tower card though, it can be a very internal collapse. It can be a very internal, like, realizing. So maybe during the South Node eclipse, you had that realization, and that's happening in your 8th house, which Lori Lothian talks about from Lunatic Astrology, who's really amazing. And she explained how that's like, the esteem of others, which makes sense because it's the second from the 7th house. It's very interesting because it could be like, you're seeing that this is something that's important in order for you to grow. Whereas for Leos, it's kind of the opposite. Like, we're having to kind of lean into the esteem of others and kind of look for that in order for us to grow and kind of not let go of our own self-esteem, but to recognize that others' admiration and worth of us is also important, which is, it's a hard thing for Leos, but regardless, it's for Aquarius. But it just made me think about how for you guys, it's almost like the path to growth right now, financially, as well as for your own self-esteem, is by giving it to others. So I just want to thank Lori for that. And check her out if you haven't. But then the other thing I have here is, so you're feeling like super hopeful and you're hopeful and excited for the future. And then there's a part of you that's way more reserved and cautious. This could even be a part of you that wants to be very strategic, right? And so this is kind of what you're going back and forth on during this time. Let's see. And I want you to ask yourself if, to some extent, either of these feelings are coming from a place of scarcity. Are you giving to others? Are you having this hopeful future because you're scared of actually looking at the reality? Or do you feel like you have to be strategic and super reserved and cautious because you feel like whatever has been built, or this like hope that you're having, is just, you're getting too ahead of yourself? And then therefore you have to be strategic and cautious, especially because you guys have Pluto in the first house. It makes me feel like you're sensing that people are sensing your power. And so then you kind of do have to feel like you have to be very strategic in that sense. But yeah, I just want you to, I think the cards are asking, make sure that that's not coming from a space of scarcity and fear, because ultimately, or that other people won't support you. The Five of Pentacles can often be this feeling where like you do feel like you're the one who's there for everybody else and nobody's really there for you, and like you're feeling like, okay, I'm on my own, and so I have to make sure that I, you know, stay guarded, stay strategic, because if people see this really open and giving side of me, then they're going to take advantage of me, or, you know, they're not going to support me in the way that I want, that I support them. So yeah, I think it's asking for you to like explore during this kind of limbo period your feelings and ideas around scarcity, possibly. And then we got the Eight of Wands. So it makes me feel like there is something, you are actually coming to a space, Seven of Pentacles, where there could be like a fast progression of events for you. And it could be related to work because you've got Mars in the 6th house. And I'm finding for a lot of people where their Mars placement is right now, it's like in a lot of ways reaping the rewards, but not even fully, because you've got Jupiter moving there in June, which is going to even expand more on the work that you've done to get there. But I'm already seeing a lot of people reaping the rewards of a lot of work they put in. So it could be that you've worked really hard, and so you're seeing results here as well. But, you know, Mercury rules your 8th house too, so you could be seeing some money coming in from other people as well. But there's a sense that like you feel as though you're not, I don't know, why am I sensing like a dissatisfaction? I'm sensing a dissatisfaction. Yeah, we're all in this state of limbo, but if I get the High Priestess, it makes me feel like you're being asked to really lean into the limbo, really lean into the fact that there are more questions than there are answers right now, and that there is a sacred and mystical reasoning for what is happening right now, in which it's almost like, yeah, I mean, this could also be a message. This could also be travel. So this could be I'm not really seeing a theme of travel here, but could be, you know, it's very general reading, so I have to just say different things. But I'm feeling like a sense of dissatisfaction. But then on the other hand, I'm seeing that you're hopeful and you've reached some sort of a pinnacle, but you're not fully satisfied. So what is that about? Well, one, I think, like I said, it's about having to lean into the mystery and understand that there probably is a reason. And that maybe during this retrograde cycle, you're going to get some understanding from your unconscious around this decision that you're feeling like you can't make right now, around being more cautious and reserved, or more joyful and optimistic and hopeful. I think you're going to get more clarity on that. It's just like it's not going to come yet. Maybe with the Kazemi on the 24th, that may be coming up for you. But then I got these. So I've got the Page of Swords, Knight of Cups, and then the Lover. So once again, denoting some sort of a decision that has to be made right now. And it could be a very pivotal decision that you're at right now, where it could be within relationships. So you don't really have a whole lot happening in your relationship sector right now, other than the South Node and the 8th. But, and the Knight of Cups can also indicate some sort of like desire for romance. You've got Jupiter in the 5th, so that could definitely be something going on there. But it feels like for you guys, there is a new like writing opportunity possibly, or a new speaking opportunity, something that you've been thinking about that maybe that's an aspect of your life that you've been missing. I mean, now that I think about it, you've got a lot of stuff in your 3rd house, and, you know, writing a blog or speaking publicly, or just something around communication. Maybe that's what's missing. Okay, yeah. Wow, I just felt that really strongly, that for a lot of you guys, maybe you're writing about how you're feeling more, you're getting more personal and deep. Yeah, I think this is kind of like a thing for you, that you want to be putting your work out there in a different way, but you're kind of concerned about like people seeing too much of you. And then this other part of you is like, oh, but let's just do it because I'm an Aquarius. Yeah, I feel like this Pluto in the 1st house definitely brings up a lot of these like power and responsibility, that intertwined idea of with great power comes responsibility, which I keep saying to you guys, but it's because I genuinely feel like it's very important for you to recognize that. And so I think you're feeling that quite acutely right now. There's definitely new ways of making money, and I feel like for some of you guys, this is through communication in some way. That's what the cards are saying. And the last card I have for you is the Hermit. This has come up in multiple of my readings. Actually, do I want another one? Interesting. Yeah, this is what I was picking up on earlier. There's a certain like level of anxiety. There's a certain level of dissatisfaction, and I'm having a hard time understanding why, because it feels like when I tap into your energy that there's actually a lot of more positive things happening. Anyway, this is coming up a lot. And I think that for you guys, this is just once again saying like, Mercury is asking for a descent into the self to see what messages need to be heard. There could be some changes in your home life as well, because Venus rules your guys' 4th house and it's retrograde right now. And it rules your 9th house. So could be even like moving far away too. I don't know, or traveling. There's a lot of things on your mind right now. Like, I wonder if this 2-week period is not going to clear up a lot of this reflection for you. High Priestess is saying it's not really, there's something else. Like there's not, it's not that you don't have any power to create it. It's just that, can you like not focus on that right now and just kind of do the work? You know, you've got all those planets in your 2nd house right now, Saturn, like just do the work, you know, like just do what you need to do. And things will start making more sense as things start going direct for you. All right, let me know how that resonates. I'll see you guys next time. Last and certainly not least, we have the Pisces rising, sun, and moon. Let's see what messages are coming to you guys. You guys are the intuitive, perceptive, empathic, sensitive, compassionate sign that we are kind of feeling into those energies during this time, and even more so when the 2 retrograde planets are going to go back into your sign. So right now there's a lot of influence on you and your 2nd house, but let's start with the tarot and see what it has to say. Make sure you guys listen to the first part of the video if you haven't already, because Mercury for you guys rules your 4th and 7th house. So it has a lot to do with your living situation. It has a lot to do with your home life, your emotions, and your relationships, contracts, and business partners. So it's an important sign for you guys, and it's going retrograde. Let's see. Okay, so we have the 4 of Pentacles, the Ace of Cups, and then the 8 of Swords. Okay. Whenever I see the 8 of Swords, I'm feeling stagnation. Where is that coming? Is that coming from your sense of, like, are you trying to start a new beginning and it's not picking up? That's kind of what it feels like. Because it feels like wherever you have Mars, which is in the 5th house, like your creativity, your self-expression, even possibly for some of you guys, romance, could be going quite easier right now. Not easier, but you're seeing more fruition there. But it almost feels like you're trying to start something and it's not going forward. It could be that you're feeling tight on money, or maybe you're not feeling tight, but you're feeling very reserved around your money. This could also, the Four of Cups can also be about like desiring to control situations. So it could be that you're feeling very protective of not just your finances, but you do have a lot of second house stuff. Excuse me. But also of yourself. You're feeling like you're wanting to express yourself and your creativity and stuff, but there's a need for you. Maybe you're even like budgeting during this time more than you normally do, because you're realizing that in order for you to have this fresh start, you need to have some money saved up. But I feel like you're being offered during this liminal transitional space that I talked about in the beginning of this video, during these 2 weeks, like a new, fresh emotional perspective. And it's funny because oftentimes the Ace of Cups can also be like creative pursuits. So it can be emotions, it can be romance or relationships, it can be creativity, and her cup overfloweth, you know? So you could be feeling super creative right now, but then I get the Eight of Swords. A lot of times the Eight of Swords can feel as though, and then now I got the Six of Swords. So for some of you guys, you're moving away from a chaotic time into a more peaceful time. For some of you guys, there could be like a lot of travel that's indicated. A lot of times the Six of Swords, and just looking at your chart with Jupiter in the 4th, it could be that, and that's ruled by Gemini, it could be that you're moving, and that's something that's happening for you. But it can also mean that you're moving from a different, more negative or turbulent mental realm into a more calm and peaceful realm. The Eight of Swords is amazing to me though, because the stuckness is very much a mental construct. When it comes up, it's often, that's a word I hear, is I feel stuck. And the thing is though, is that it is a mental stuckness. It is you are in some ways keeping yourself in some sort of a prison mentally. Maybe it's because of, Judgment card. Maybe it's because of you don't believe that you can achieve the level of success that you're currently looking to get. This is interesting though, because I also feel like in a lot of ways, like you are being asked to overcome this, and it's kind of shown by this as well, to overcome this like desire for control, or this belief that you can't do it and that you're stuck and that you're not going to get unstuck, because you're recognizing that there is a really big inner calling that's happening for you right now that is so important to you that you're willing to accommodate the discomfort that comes with it, which isn't, yeah, I feel like you're almost at a very important part of your journey. Like you're almost about to build stability. This could also just be that you're celebrating with family and friends during this time. Maybe there's some sort of celebration, or you're getting together a lot or something. But with this together, it makes me feel like you're feeling stuck, but that's, if you can push through it and recognize that what you're working towards is very soul aligned, you're almost about to get to a new point of stability. This is a 4, so it's not like the ultimate end of success, possibly. It could be, for some of you guys, this is general. But for a lot of you guys, this is like, you're about to hit like some sort of a hallmark. And if you just focus on the fact that you are taking this calling, judgment to me is almost like a calling of the soul, that you have to do something. And it requires you to enter into like a different level of consciousness, and in order to achieve that, and to know that, you know, you're meant for what you're doing, even if you feel stuck right now, you're on the precipice of reaching a significant point in the journey, so don't give up. And getting the Queen of Pentacles tells me that if you're stuck financially, especially, and like what I was saying earlier, that you're feeling like you're, you know, don't have as much money, or you're feeling the need to budget, or then I get the Queen of Pentacles followed by the Page of Pentacles. So it's saying that the money is coming. It's almost like a test, okay? It's almost like this is a time where you're being asked with Mercury and Venus both retrograde. And let's see, for you guys, Venus rules your 8th and your 3rd house. So it's almost asking like, if you can sit in this limbo where maybe finances don't feel quite right, or you're feeling stuck. I feel like a lot of you guys are feeling stuck financially. That's what I feel. But if you're doing your inner calling, if you're doing the job that you feel like you're meant to be doing at this time, and, you know, expressing yourself creatively, romantically, whatever, the money will get better once you reach this kind of like more stable point that requires you to actively work on your perception during this time. Listen to the messages that are being given to you by your unconscious, because they're going to ultimately give you a new sense of hope. This time is a time for you, like I said in the beginning of this video, to listen to the messages of your unconscious. What is it trying to tell you? What is dying to be seen by your unconscious so that you can move past this? This is going to require a sense of the Fool, which goes very much against the Four of Pentacles, which is about control and about things staying the same and not changing anything. You're being asked to step into this unknown and keep walking. And if you're not doing your soul's calling, this may be more difficult, because with all this planet in your first house, with all these planets in your first house and your second house as well, and Mars in your fifth, which is your Dharma. So like you've got your first and fifth house, your Dharmic house is indicated. So there's just a lot more pressure for you guys to fulfill your Dharma. And your Dharma doesn't have to be through work necessarily, but it needs to be accounted for to some degree in what you're doing day to day, right? Like what message you're putting out in the world. And so for a lot of people, that does come through their work, but it doesn't have to. It can come through creativity. It can come through the messages that you send out into the world as well. So Pisces, let me know how that resonates for you guys, and I'll see you next time.